My Gavan and Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arakia Galadirthan, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we continue with a developer diary. And this time, this entire episode is devoted to battle maps and the relevant campaign strategy models therein. So, this is going to be, I'll jump between the battle maps, so there won't be any loading obviously, and we shall be using partly Mordor and partly Gondor, but you'll barely notice those people on the maps anyway. Now, if there is, some of these things have only just been uploaded, some of them, particularly this map, are still having a few kinks worked out, as you may notice directly, because looking in front of you, you'll see that that tree has absolutely no textures, and is in fact just black. So, I imagine the texture just hasn't been uploaded to Dropbox, but or something hasn't been amended. But anyway, that's irrelevant. RK, who is one of our modding team members, or council members, he did all of the battle maps himself. Every single one. Excuse me, sorry. And the elite dwarf, who we colloquially know as Ted, he did all of the campaign strategy models. So this is, between the two of them, this is all their work. And so let's get to it, starting with the battle map, which is the only one which is not a city, and that is the Barrow Downs, which is where we currently are. This is a custom tile that is just one tile to the left of the town of Mengelen, and it is a custom battle map in the Barrow Downs, as you can see. There is an ancient tomb of old Arnor there, high up atop the barrow with the stones surrounding it. It's eerie, it's dreadful. And I don't know if the music is tied to the battle map or if the music is because I'm playing as Mordor, but it is eerie. But as you can see, a couple of the trees do have no textures. And at the moment in the council hall, a few people experience crashes on this battle map. And some people experience crashes when it's in custom battle. Some have experienced crashes on campaign. Some people, such as myself, have missing textures. So it's still being worked out. But it's obviously, as you can see, at a point where I can show you what it looks like. So this is the smallest map that we will see today. There's a levitating stone over there. I did notice it. I tried to turn away too quickly, and then I've brought attention to it anyway. But it's off the map, so you wouldn't see it. But it's just cool, isn't it? It does have that dread and eerie feeling, with the barrows littered around the actual map that you fight in. And then away from the edges, you can just see the silhouettes of the barrows in the distance, which is very, very cool. So this is a custom tile, as I say. You can fight here if you just have troops that are here. I've used Gondor to be my guinea pig, and at the minute it's on walk. Everybody walks slowly, which is why they're moving ultra slowly. So that is the Barrow Downs. We shall now be heading off to an old favourite. So I don't want to give it away. I'll surprise you as the camera now cuts to our next location. Welcome to battle map number 2. Now, battle map number 2 is brought to you by Sauron, who is currently attacking this location. But first of all, I thought I'd try and get the best that I can do at some sort of far-off distance shot. And you can all have a little guess at where you think we are before I then zoom the camera out and you will actually see. So at the minute, we're on the eastern side in the forests over here. And you can just see there's some houses away to the left. There's a tower on the southern point. And as we rise up into the sky, you will of course guess that this is Caer Andros. The Isle, I believe the Ship Isle is what Caer Andros is the name of the island. So this is Caer Andros version 2, new and improved. Here are our Gondor enemies. They have a trebuchet because I always give units trebuchets when I'm attacking cities. But actually, as I said, Sauron is currently attacking this city. And he's all the way over here with his bugged 4 people. Now, the reason I put him over there is to show you that when you actually start this battle now, your army will start here, directly in front of the gate. Now, that is something I will speak to RK about, and hopefully we will set it up so that this entire island can be only used by the defenders, and the attackers can set up on either the eastern or western sides, and not in the middle. Because when you attack this settlement, as I have just done, even though on the battle map, on the campaign map, sorry, Sauron was standing over here. He's going super slow. Let's speed him back up again. So even though he started over on this eastern side, he actually started the battle directly in front of the gate. So I will speak with RK. Also, something I actually do also know how to do myself. So I will also look into that. But the moral of today's story, of course, is the city itself. So Caer Andros has been reintroduced into the game. It takes the basic kind of look that it had originally, but with a few additions that now make it actually work, and so the AI won't break. Chief amongst these, of course, are the 2 bridges, which previously did not exist, and were a big reason why the battle map was so buggy. Also, the land outside of Caer Andros now, as you can see, is much bigger. There's a lot more room to maneuver, which helps the AI a lot. And I'm uncertain if these ruined buildings are going to be kept or edited or changed. I can't quite remember. But there's some ruined buildings on that southern side. Probably kept ruined, to be honest, because Caer Andros is a chief point for Gondor in the crossing. Oh, look, there's some barrels in the top of that room. This is a major point for Gondor in terms of stopping Mordor crossing the Great Anduin. And the battle map just looks so cool, and it is exactly how it is. The reason this island is called the Ship Isle, and it does, Caer Andros does mean Ship Island or Ship Fortress or something like that, because Caer means ship. So it's a ship island, and it's because it sits in the middle of the Anduin, much like a ship, with the waves breaking on the prow and the stern, and it just looks really cool. But as you can see as well, the bridge works perfectly, and Sauron was able to break across. Don't ask me about the fact there are 4 Saurons, it's just something we can't fix. But anyway, just to show you Caer Andros, there you are. And on the western side, it's a bit sandier, not as green and grassy, which is at the point in the Third Age that we are, not that wholly accurate. But it's Ithilien, the great forested lands, and sitting there away to the east, of course, are the mountains of Mordor, the Ephel-Duath, the mountains of Shadow, I think, possibly the Ered Luthuli, mountains of Ash. I know the names, but I don't know which ones are which. And then away to the west, far to the west, the White Mountains, and one would assume that that high peak there is Mindalluin, and at the base, away over there, is Minas Tirith, with the Anduin snaking down the middle there. So there is Caer Andros. I hope this has given you a nice flair for it, and you're all pleased that it is back into the game. You will note that this one does not actually have a gate. It is only a kind of for show, although I imagine you can probably put troops on the walls, but there is no gate to claim. So the gate is only that front one there, which was another aspect of why the battle map didn't work, because there were 2 gates, and the AI couldn't really handle that, as far as I can tell anyway. So there we are, Caer Andros, the great ship isle and fortress of Gondor. Now let us move on. Welcome to battle map number 3, and evidently I am really enjoying these establishing shots. So again, have a guess. Don't cheat and tell me what it is after I've told you, but have a guess where you think we are now. As we come in from the shoreline, there's your first hint, and as we slowly raise up, the town comes into view. Circular town, ruined walls, and then a great isle off to the side. It is, of course, Tol Falas, or Gobel Tol Falas, which actually means Tol Falas village, which isn't really accurate any longer. But this is the battle map for Gobel Tol Falas on the Isle of Tol Falas, which is, of course, now just off to the eastern side of the island. The city is, anyway. And it is held by Dol Amroth at the start of the game. And there they are, lined up in the centre there. So, Tol Falas, as you can see straight away, forgive me if I say that a million times, but the island is heavily based off of Caer Andros. Indeed, this map actually used to be Caer Andros, and it was repurposed for Tol Falas. And then it was edited a little bit more when we knew what we were going to do with it, and it now stands, as you can see. But this one has the unique feature in that the square, obviously, is on the actual island, and you do have to fight through the ruins of the city first. Now, Tol Falas cannot be upgraded, so it will be a ruin for the entire game. This is how it will look. Now, the savvy amongst you will, of course, also note that this is very much a trimmed down and edited version of Osgiliath, combined with the old Caer Andros map and then given a bridge. And you'd be correct. That is what it is. But it looks damn cool. Damn cool. So when you attack the city, you always come from this side, of course. You are attacking from the west onto the eastern shoreline, and then there's the isle there. You have to make it through the city, as I say, but you don't need any siege equipment. There are no gates whatsoever. You can just walk in, but you will need siege equipment to attack the city because it is a fortress in the game files. And unfortunately, try as I might with the method that is supposed to work, I can't tell the game that you don't need siege equipment to attack this location. which is supposed to be possible. There is a line where you can say you don't need siege equipment, but it doesn't seem to work, so you do. But once you're actually in, you don't need anything, of course. But the square is quite a way away, so this is a very easily defensible map. Courtesy of course, number one, the massive giant bridge that you can defend, and also the fact that the enemy has got to wind their way through the city streets, giving you lots of choke points and checkpoints. And if you are Dol Amroth, you're likely to have some corsairs, some pikemen amongst your number. So there is Gobel Tolfalas. And mentioned already, but this will never upgrade, so it will be a ruin for the entire game. Now, a bit of a backstory on that. The Isle of Tolfalas was hit quite heavily by two great floods. The first great flood was, of course, the sinking of Beleriand, which shattered the island, actually made it an island, I believe. That was the first event. I know the two events. I can't remember which one actually made it the island. I think it's the first one. Apologies, I shouldn't say that. I should just be confident and go for it. But so the sinking and destruction of Beleriand shattered Tolfalas entirely, which rendered the island an island. And then with the fall of Numenor, the island was hit by a huge flood, which also then hit it pretty badly. Now, of course, Gondor didn't have a settlement on this island in either of those points, but we're going with the theme that the island has since been the subject of many fights, many points of attack, Umbar raids, Haradrim raids. Gondor has a very turbulent history, and Tolfalas is right in the bay on the southern side throughout. And there may well also have been numerous other floods and whatnot, so we're happy for it to stay as a ruin for the duration. And it also just looks cool. And I like it. So it's a ruin much in the same way as Gileath is, but unfortunately you cannot rebuild it. But there we are, that is Tolfalas. You will note that there are differences between Kairandos. It has been heavily rechanged, or heavily edited. So whilst the core basic layout is the same, with the keep up on the northern side, with the towers on either pinnacle, but the general layout, as you can see, is totally different. The walls are in different locations. This whole mountain range here isn't present in the other Kairandos, as you've just seen. And it's got various like docks and things down on the sides. So it looks good. I really like it. I think it looks cracking. I do like the docks a lot. They blend very, very well as well. I like that. So there we are. That is Tolfalas. So moving on to our next one, which is one that you have already seen before, but it's been updated. Welcome to number 4. And once again, a nice establishing shot to begin with, as we creep lower to the ground, as the trees flicker as we move in and out. They flicker, but they no longer turn on and off completely, which they used to do on this battle map, which is another big giveaway. As we curl around, closing in. Surely you've guessed it already where we are, as we start to climb out and up to the great city and elven kingdom of Caras Galadhon. Welcome to Caras Galadhon. Now, the change the keen-eyed amongst you will be noting almost immediately is the grand walkway that you now see going around the wall. This is taken from Leo's, the gentleman who created most of the generic custom settlements that the game now has. This is taken from his mod. And RK has managed to make it work with Caras Galadhon, which I'm really grateful of. And basically, these walkways are stationable by your troops. You can put your forces on these walkways and they will act as walls. And of course the enemy then has to climb the walls to kill you, and climb the towers to kill you. Now the only thing I don't know, and unfortunately because it would take ages to get someone to actually attack Caras Galadhon, I am the attack-or, so I can't show you troops in the walls. And I don't know where the kind of mount point is. I don't know if each arm of the wall is how you climb up into it, but it's something for you all to discover when you play Caras Galadhon in the future. Now, Caras Galadhon still doesn't have a gate and still just has the small wall running around the edge. But, of course, the little glitch that used to exist whereby this sort of mound on this side was actually, you could walk over it, and that has since been fixed a long time ago. So there is only the gate at the front to deal with. And quite nicely, there's this other hill over here, so if you are attacking... Oh, that looks so cool. You can see the lights of the trees. Oh, that is awesome. Are they actually the lights? Oh, they are as well. I thought they were just a glitch. That is absolutely awesome. You can quite literally see the lights of Caras Galadhon gleaming as you move through this forest to arrive at it. But anyway, if you are attacking Caras Gallathon and you bring siege equipment with you, you have this lovely hill on the other side where you can station your troops. In fact, my army was stationed atop this hill until I moved them over there to get them out of the way, down in the mist and the fog. And you can just rain hell down onto the defenders of the Great Tree City, which would be very rude and unbecoming of an elven general. Of course, you may not be the elves, as you'd be killing the elves, so you're very unlikely to be elves. There's a sneak preview there of a unit that has yet to actually be seen as well. So, well, not a unit, it's a unit upgrade. But there we are. Caras Gallathon now has walkways, so no longer do you have to position all your troops down on the floor. And especially if you're attacked by numerous enemies, for example in invasions, when enemies spawn all around you, you can put archers up on these lovely walkways and they can rain hell and other things of evil down onto the forces that are trying to claim the serenity of Lothlorien. So there we are, Caras Gallathon. Now we shall move on to number 5, which is a completely new battle map. Welcome to number 5. Once again, starting far away, and we'll zoom ever closer. Or, as Rolf Harris would say from my childhood, can you tell what it is yet? As we start to zoom in. So less trees this time, way less trees. There are some mountains away to the side there, mountains away to the side there. The skies are a bit dark, but that's just because of the weather. Now houses come into show. Some different style of trees, a nice square wall, and a large central structure. And it is, of course, Bjorn's Halls. Welcome to the capital city of the Vale of the Anduin. It's simple, yet very effective, and a lovely nod to, well, Bjorn, basically. Screw the movies. But it also is nice to give a faction that previously had no real custom settlements just something a bit more unique to them. It's very, very simple, dare I say, no offense to its creator, RK. But it works wonderfully. It's exactly what you'd expect. A large central hall where Bjorn obviously resides. There's apiaries knocking about. There's hay bales, windmills, a few other bits and bobs. Some other buildings suggesting that other people are now living with him for safety and security, all tucked nicely behind this simple wooden wall. And it is just that. The actual wall itself you cannot man. It's a simple stone wall running the perimeter of the city. Or it's not even a hamlet, let's be honest. The perimeter of the gardens of the house. And but then you have got the walls here. Now do note, of course, the custom nature of the walls. There are carved wooden bears' heads on either turret, which is really cool and an awesome little touch. And as you can also note, there are trees growing from the turrets and parapets of the walls. There's a different type of tree on the corners as well, giving it just a nice a difference to the surrounding terrain and surrounding trees. Oh, that popping is the sprites kicking in, of course. Every tree has a sprite, because it's quite detailed when you're sort of at this range, but then in order to not impact your system too heavily, it replaces them with very low resolution sprites when you're far away. It does the same with units. And that's why there's that popping effect, as all of the trees kind of come into focus. But as you can see, it only affects the game's stock trees, and trees we've added in, not affected. But anyway, there we are. That's Bjorn's Halls. A very simple little settlement, but very cool nonetheless. Oh, and was that lightning? It was, wasn't it? Oh, that was lightning at times 1.1 speed. Just made the whole ground look like someone had spilt milk on it. Anywho, so there we are, Bjorn's Halls. Not much further to say about it, but it is very, very cool. And I like it. And I think it's a nice, simple addition to the Anduin's gameplay, really. So there we are. So now we move on to number 6. There is, I'm afraid, only two more to go. We only have 7 to show you today. And you should probably be able to tell what the next 2 are, but we shall move on to them. I'll save what I think is the best for last. And welcome to number 6. Now, something I should have probably said, and may annoy some people, but it doesn't matter. This video is not going to be a very long one, I don't think. I'm not going to put breakdowns in the description because I don't want to give away what we're showing off. It ruins this whole little first bit where you get the fun of trying to guess what you're looking at, which I think is good fun. And so, what the hell? I won't bother putting in breakdowns. But here we are with the penultimate city for today. You can just see it off in the away there. Now, this city's design is based on its depiction in the Battle for Middle-earth 2, The Rise of the Witch King, which is why there are 2 giant horse statues at the front. And of course, as we start to zoom up and get a better idea, you still may not really know where we are yet if you're not familiar with the lore of Middle-earth, or if you've never played Battle for Middle-earth, But as we go through this very ruined city, we go through the gate into the central area. 2 giant horse statues marking the gate. There's ruined towers in the central courtyard there, the first of 2 central courtyards. And then we go through the second governing wall until we come to, say it with me now, the Palace of Kings. This is, of course, the city of Fornost, or as it is now known, Fornost Erain, or Dead Man's Dyke. Fornost literally means northern town, and it was the capital of the northern kingdom of the breakaway region of Arthedain. It was not the capital of Arnor, and Numinas was the capital of Arnor. This was the capital of Arthedain only, and it was a fortress and a city combined, and Arche has represented that wonderfully with the very, very thick walls. But then once you come within the walls, it's very much a city. But as you can see, ruins abound, and it looks so good. The ruins particularly are such a nice touch. Things like that, where there's a tower on that corner over there, but the one on this side is completely caved in. Now, of course, if you are unfamiliar, Fornost was destroyed by the Witch King in 1974 of the Third Age. He himself, I believe, was then defeated in 1975 of the Third Age. So we're talking about 1,000 and just shy of 100 years before the events of the War of the Ring, which happened in 3019 of the Third Age. So 1975, 25 more years until you arrive at 22,000, and then 1,000 later. So this city has been in ruins for 1,000 years. And that is reflected. Now the house, or the Palace of Kings, call it what you will, is a central feature of Fornost where the seat of Arthedain was located, and it's represented very, very well. I mean, if it didn't have that dome and you just came over to this side, it looks a little bit like an Irish convent. But once you have the full picture, it does reflect the grandeur of the Palace of Kings. Also, just catch a glimpse of that simple yet amazing Northern Dunedain city centre flag. It's so good, isn't it? Simple, green, with a tree in the reflection there. Now, I think Arche has used a very sneaky tactic to get these horsemen, and I unfortunately can't get high enough to show them to you. But I'm fairly certain that he's taken a unit from the game, taken an image of it, and then turned it into a stone and put it in the battle map, which, if that is the way that it's done, that's awesome. Which is why it's a slightly different colour to the walls around it. But anyway, there we are, Fornost. Now, Fornost actually has only the one main entrance into the main city, so even if you attack with various armies, you've got to come in this kind of front end. So there is this additional entrance here, and there is the additional entrance there, but there are no entrances at the back, is what I mean. So if you attack, say, from the very far northern side, the Bari Donionak side, you've got to walk all the way around the city, right up the lines, and come in at the top. And then once you are in, though, you can either go through the central courtyard, or the tower courtyard, as we should call it, because there were 4 towers here, or you can head round the east and west and flank into the square, which is, of course, just outside of the Palace of Kings. Now, this is not the last time you're going to see Fornost, because Fornost will be upgradable. You will be able to repair and rebuild the city, and there will be a second version of this city that is rebuilt. So it won't be in ruins forever, because of course it's a grand capital. Whereas with Golbel Tolfalas earlier, that will stay as a ruin, and it's kind of to reflect the Umbarim raids on the region and just the warfare that has littered that region of Gondor for such a long time. And it's also to denote that Gondor's really not bothered with rebuilding a minor island city whilst it's still fighting for its life. Whereas rebuilding Osgiliath has defensive potential. Which is all me basically just covering for us to say that we're not going to do a rebuilt Golbel Tolfalas because you can't rebuild it because of the way that custom settlements work. But anyway, so Fornost you will be able to rebuild because there is one free slot available to the Dunedain, so they can rebuild this city. So you will see a reboot version of this, a rebuilt version of this in a future video. But for now, there we are. And this is also a lovely little nod. It is said that in the Third Age, after the destruction of Fornost, the only people that ever came here were rangers. And they never really settled here. They only ever visited through. Now, there's the lightning again, turning everything into milk. And so I really like this little addition of a ranger camp just tucked away off to the side near the centre. basically suggesting that though this city still has all of these stone structures, the Rangers just don't trust them, and instead they keep to their tents, and they have this little encampment on the central area. And I love that. I think that's a really nice touch. So there we are, Fornost Rhine, the northern city and the ruined city of Arthedain. Welcome to the 7th and final battle map. Now the timer is set to ×1, which is why the water's moving really slowly. Now you should be able to guess what this is, as we've come from Fornost and we've headed off. We are currently in a vast body of water, but it does have edges all around. Meaning, of course, it is a lake. We are in the far frozen north, and the hills of somewhere reside just behind us, and they share the same name as the lake. I shall put you out of your misery as we climb into the sky, and we look upon the great ancient capital of Annúminas. Here we are on the shores of Lake Evendim with Annúminas version 2, very much version 2, because Gobel Tolfalas, the battle map we saw earlier in this very same video, used to be the battle map for Annúminas. But Annúminas has since been given a much grander look. Now this battle map was originally created by, I believe, Jox. Mr. J, as he's either now known or was known. And he's currently the head of the Shadow of Mordor, I think that's their name, Rise of Mordor mod for Attila. So the Lord of the Rings mod that everyone keeps banging on about for Attila, Mr. J is the head of that mod. And I'm fairly certain that he worked on this battle map. And RK has salvaged it and made it work. Because originally it did not work. It had some pretty major issues and it was fairly bugged. But now it does work, and it's awesome, absolutely awesome. So the city itself is kind of partially ruined, partially not. You do have to get through the gate, so the walls actually do stand as they ring around the edge there. Very reminiscent, of course, of Minas Tirith's walls, because they are Minas Tirith's walls. But there's a gate in 3 locations. There's one on this side, there's one in the middle, we shall say, where the Northern Dúnedain currently are preparing to fend me off. And there's one on the eastern side. However, the western gate does not actually go anywhere. The enemy can't get through there. The bridge, as you can see, is ruined. So you can only come from the east and the south. And then you initially, once you make it through the gate, you've then got to fight over one of these 2 bridges, either the eastern one or the southern one, and then make your way to the central square, which is a little more simpler and pleasant than the Fornost square. There's no towers, no ruins or anything. Nothing in the middle, I mean. But then you've got to fight your way along and then up this bridge. All the while the defenders are really fighting to hold you back. And then through the final gate, which isn't actually a gate, and into the courtyard of the city centre, where the palace of the kings of this city now stands. But ruined and destroyed. Look at the detail even there on those ruins is actually really good. I think the Elite Dwarf may have worked with RK to kind of beautify some of the buildings a bit more. And this is an example of that, where there's actual ruins. Plants growing in the ruins even. Now, Annúminas, part of the reason why Annúminas is partially ruined but isn't fully ruined is because Annúminas was never actually destroyed nor captured. It was never besieged, it was never attacked in its entire history. Maybe small skirmishes that aren't really documented, but no major attacks ever happened here. Annúminas was abandoned. The people that lived in Annúminas fled to Fornost, and when the kingdom of Arnor split into 3 subdivisions, Annúminas was abandoned. But this used to be the capital of the unified nation of Arnor. And then they divided into 3, and the peoples here fled. Those with allegiances to Cardlan would have headed south to Cardlan. Those from Ruadar would have headed to Ruadar. And the Arthedainians would have headed to Fornost, which became the capital of Arthedain, as I've already said. So Annúminas was never attacked, which is why it's not wholly destroyed. But it was, of course, abandoned, and it is now It has now been abandoned for over 1,000 years. But Númenorian architecture is said to be almost the greatest facet of their game, if you will, and it was one of the things they were the most renowned for. And remember that Annúminas, Minas Tirith, Pelargir, Osgiliath, Umbar, they were all built by Númenorians who were actual Númenorians. So Annúminas, Minas Tirith and Osgiliath were built by the fleeing Númenorians, the faithful, and Umbar was actually built by the Númenorians when they still had Númenor. but the people that fled on the 9 ships with Elendil, they were pure-blooded and pure Númenóreans. So they had all the knowledge and skillty of Númenor, and they put it to good use in building these cities. So here is a Númenas. Now I do hope you've enjoyed this foray through the battle maps. I will now quickly show you all of the campaign strategy maps that go along with these, and then that will round up today's developer diary. So there's a final and establishing shot as we walk down the central street of Númenas, heading up to the towers of the centre of the palace, We make our way through the courtyard as we climb higher and gain some speed, coming up to the Great Bridge. Unfortunately, the statues have not weathered the weather very well. Statues on the bridges, eternal vigilance, and then to the Great Gate where we do go up to stop the jar, and into the palace itself where the Dunedain now hold the city themselves. So there we are, at Númenas, City of Kings. Hello, so welcome to showing off the campaign strategy models then. So I've done this one on the same one that I just used to do all of the battle testing, which is why there's generals in really random locations. But do ignore that, please ignore that. For example, why the Witch King on turn 2 is currently outside of the city of Bree. But anyway, so where Orodreth is currently standing is the custom tile for the Barrow Downs. Now what we will do is we will move one of these Barrow sites to where he is standing so that you get an idea. Now also I'll speak with Arcade, but we'll try and make it so that each point of these barrows will be the custom tile, because I'm fairly certain you can copy and clone it. So wherever you see one of these icons, or one of these strategy models, there will be the custom Barrow Downs tile there. But one of them will be moved next to Mengelin just so that Mengelin fights very near to it. So that's the Barrow Downs. Taking them in the order that we did them then, Kyrandros has returned to glory, but Ted, the elite dwarf, has given it a makeover. Most notably the 2 bridges that you now see on either side. And the fact that the strategy model is almost like for like the battle map model. It's almost identical to how it looks on the battle map, which is awesome. And so it just gives Kyrandros its glory again. It was one of my favourite strategy models, I have to confess. I think it looks awesome in the base game. But it was so bugged it had to be removed, so it's back in all its splendour. So this is why all of these regions have no garrisons, because I was using Gondor to attack everyone. But the next place, you've seen it before, but I can show you it just for now anyway. There's Gobel Tolfalas, mirroring itself on the battle map as well. Now the elite dwarf is going to throw in some more ruined buildings to it, but we may make the decision to make Tolfalas not ruined, but I'm happy for it to remain ruined. So the elite dwarf will work on Tolfalas a bit more and put some ruined buildings in there. I believe he wants to do that anyway. I'd be happy if he didn't want to do that. I think you spend most of the time at about this level on the campaign map anyway, and you wouldn't really even notice. But there's Gobel Tolfalas looking very good. So again, same thing with Caras Galadhon. You have seen Caras Galadhon before in one of the previous developer diaries I showed off. The elite dwarf worked on that a long time ago, but that's what Caras Galadhon now looks like on the campaign map, just to throw it in for continuity, for totality's sake. And as you can see, I was using Denethor to attack Caras Galadhon. So next up, we shall head up to Bjorn's Halls, past Winberg and up to the city, and there it is, Bjorn's Halls, blending seamlessly with the terrain. It does look a little bit off in the winter because these green hills don't change with the winter, but that's 1 out of 4 turns, so that's not bothered. I'm not really bothered by that. But there is Bjorn's Halls, and again reflecting very much how it looks on the battle map, and looking really good. So a nice custom settlement in the heart of the Vale, which is a nice addition. So, you've also seen Fornos before. I've shown Fornos in the Bree campaign, actually, you can see Fornos. And so, you will know, obviously, it looks very similar again. Almost identical again. The Elite Dwarf is doing everything he can to make it so the strategy models mirror the battle maps, which I like. And I think Fornos looks really good. Nice. The square city is what they should have called it. Although that idea comes from the Battle of Middle-earth. I don't think we have a description of it saying that it had a perfect square as a city. Because perfect squares are not actually very good ways to defend. Which is why we have star forts. Anywho, over to Númenas then. There is the new Númenas. Looking, again, like the battle map. And again, looking very cool, I think. It just looks as it does in the battle map. And I think it looks quite nice. So as you're zooming past, it's now totally unique. Which is good. Because Numinas is to Arnor what Minas Tirith is to Gondor, and it should have reflected the majesty of Minas Tirith. It should have that same, like, wow factor. And so there it is, on the shores of Lake Evendeem, the city of Numinas. Now, did we go to anywhere else? No, we didn't. So, be this episode long, be this episode short, I'm going to end it there. I wanted it to be purely battle map related and campaign strategy models, and it is. So, thank you very much for watching this developer diary. Do stay tuned. There's an awful lot of changes going on, so there will be another one in a few weeks' time, or whenever I come round to it. But for now, that will be all. So, thank you very much for watching, if indeed you have. And until we speak again, dear friends, Navar Naden Perimad Melunin, and farewell.